How we doing, my pals? Hope you have a nice, quiet, chilled Thursday evening, like myself. Friday tomorrow, but so hope you're on your best behaviour, whatever you are doing. um, I was supposed to have a guest on. I was working out how to get this guy on my channel. It was actually somebody, a third party, somebody that follows my channel had put me onto this boy. Who was a kind of, was in about that rapping and all that, and I'd been messaging him and that, and then sadly found out the boy had passed away over the weekend. I was quite shocked, taken aback, because my wee boy had actually started following his Instagram and that, and it was my wee boy that came and said to me, no, and I was like, fuck me, man. Waste of talent and young life, if I'm honest. And it just made me take stock of life's no guaranteed, know what I mean? It's fucked up, but what can I say? I didn't know the boy, obviously, know what I mean? But anybody that passes suddenly is tragic, you know what I mean? So moving on, I thought I would come on and speak about the telly programme that was on STV tonight. It was called Growing Up with Gangs. And nothing in this, I'm just going to say it right out, not one thing in this entire programme surprised me. It's the same old story, man. The kind of cultural deprivation, socio-economic deprivation, young boys with no positive male role models, looking up to the wrong type of role models, carrying weapons. The only thing that was different in my eyes was the aspect of social media, where everybody's recording their exploits, they're recording square goals in school, recording fucking mob violence, just, it's the same old story, and there was a lot of there was varied guests on it. Excuse me, fucking yawning, man. I don't yawn all day and I do a video and I just start yawning like fuck. But anyway, there was all different kind of guests on the show, right? You had 5-0 Jordan was on it, shout out mate. Ravy Davy was on it. Who else? There was a poor woman whose 18-year-old son had been stabbed to death by a 17-year-old lassie in a house party, right? And you could just see the pain and the trauma all their faces, no nice, and how it's affected them. And there was also a guy who works in the violence reduction unit, and the Justice Secretary, Angela Constance, right? And when I was watching the kind of, obviously it's off of different angles, right? You've got victims of crime, you've got somebody who administers justice in Scotland, a politician, right? You've got somebody who has lived experience a knife crime, and prison, and you've got somebody who's running an organisation that's kind of trying to formulate strategies to tackle these issues at maybe policy level and grassroots level, right? And the interesting thing was that when I was sitting watching this programme and hearing people speak about their experiences of gangs, fucking prison, knife crime, how it's impacted their lives, it just sounded like shit I'd heard maybe nearly 20 years ago when the violence reduction unit was when it kind of formulated, when it organised, was in 2005. I'd already been sent to shots by then, the year previous, for knife crimes, obviously. And this was when Scotland, Glasgow, sorry, was called the murder capital of Western Europe, because of the amount of knife crime and murders. And I'm sure there was one weekend, excuse me, there was one weekend, I think it was 2004, if I'm no mistaken, it was either 2004 or 2005, there was like 4 murders in one weekend in Glasgow, right? Now, even the police said back then that that was almost unheard of, 4 in a weekend, right? And this is when the VRU, Violence Reduction Unit, had kind of materialised, and what they were doing was trying to inform young guys, but obviously it was too late for me by then. I'd already hit the system, I was already doing double figures, but I was on my way to change, just it was a bit late for them to help somebody like myself. What they were doing was they were identifying people at risk, young guys who were like myself back in the day, right, who were running about with choppers, with the trackies on, drinking at the weekend, running battles in the streets, chasing cunts through shops with blades, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean, just the carnage that people who have been involved in this type of shit will tell you that they remember seeing, doing, whatever. And what they were doing was they were approaching these youths, and to my understanding they were like trying to educate them and bring awareness to the type of lifestyle that they were leading and how it was going to impact not just them but their communities. Because the sad thing is that for a lot of kids on the street, roaming the streets, you will find that if you sat 10, 20 of them down in a room and spoke to each one individually, you'll probably find they've all got similar chaotic home life, like drug addicted parent and or alcohol, maybe domestic abuse, one parent in prison, inconsistent relationships. There's not a lot of nurturing, and this is such a common theme with kids, and I'm speaking for personal experience in that as well, so obviously I didn't meet my biological mother until I was like 10 years old, and I went to stay with her for about a year and 3 months or something. They were selling heroin for the flat, fucking beating the shit out me and my brother for fucking next to nothing, and the rest of it. Seeing domestic violence in that house as well. Plus, my dad was a drug addict. Wasn't really. I didn't look up to my dad in any way, shape or form. And the funny thing is, you would never have known he was a drug addict to look at him. Didn't look like a stereotypical addict. He was dead clean cut, always presented well and all that. Good clothes on, whatever. So the point is that a lot of this kind of, I believe that a lot of this stuff with kids does originate at home, because if you look at the your primary socialization, it's called. So primary socialization is like how you develop attitudes, beliefs, and all that, and your general way of thinking and behaving and acting. That comes from wherever you live. Like, who's your primary caregiver? Is it your mum? Is it your dad? Is it your granny, your grandpa? Whoever you live with. That's where you've got to develop your primary belief system. And the secondary socialisation is your culture, like music, TV, your pals, all that shit. And if you're kind of growing up in a household where violence is the norm, drug taking's the norm, alcohol, teenage pregnancies, you name it, adverse childhood experiences, right? What kind of person do you think you're sending out into the world? And a lot of kids, from my experience and for what I could see in this programme, was a lot of kids will hang about in groups as a form of, it's like self-protection. The interesting thing 5 said was carrying a knife was an insurance policy, right? I also think that kids feel that hanging about with the in crowd, with the people who are seen to be whatever, right? Or it's like, if you can't beat them, join them. If I'm with them, I'll no be the one getting attacked if I'm hanging about with them, all that kind of shit. And for a time, my kid, when he started high school, there was always somebody picking on him, right? And it wasn't a gang thing, but what I think it boiled down to was the fact that my son doesn't try and fit in how he feels others, like, he does well like trackies and all that, but he doesn't try to like fucking, oh, I better hang, because he's got me to guide him. Because who better to tell you about this shit than your father, especially if your father has walked that walk, and all that shit. So I'm constantly telling, but he was actually kicked out of school twice in first year, suspended twice for attacking fourth years that were trying to fucking get fresh with him, like throwing water at him, slapping him, getting up the stairs, whatever, man, and he handled it, know what I mean? But the thing is, my son has me to tell him, listen, I'm telling you now, where do you think trying to be the top man of the scheme, whatever, where do you think that's going to lead? It's not going to lead anywhere nice, it's not going to lead anywhere productive. And if you honestly think you're going through shit the now, which all teenagers do, it's part of being a teenager. But if you think by committing crime, going about with your butt, this is what they do, they go about with, like, obviously I'm not saying this about every scheme, there's obviously schemes out there that are fucking crazy, they've always been crazy, and they're always going to be crazy. But where I live, it's not like when I was like a teenager, it's nothing like it, where I live now, right? And I've lived here all my life when I've not been in jail. Stayed in England for 3 years, the Gorbals for like a year and a couple of months, right? But other than that, this is my home, right? This is all I've known. And it's nowhere near as bad as it was. But this social media shit, right, is what I'm seeing is playing a huge part in this culture. It's the same culture, right, but it's just changed aspects of it, because you never had social media not when I was running about, and thank fuck you didn't, because I would probably still be in jail now. that's probably nae joke. The shit that, you know the script, but this is what I see a lot of youth staying right. But in a lot it's to do with the culture has changed, right? So what they're doing is they're all wearing like balaclavas, right? Like, but this is what I'm saying. They'll wear like a balaclava and they'll also on make mad signs with their fingers, not see like they know how like in America, the prison gangs they do sign language so that the screws can't hear what they're saying. But they're doing it because it's like incorporated for rap culture, like West Side and all that shit, right? But the funny thing is, none of them gang fight. But the thing is, like, saying like, oh, they wear balaclavas, but like, see, when I was jumping about, it wasn't balaclavas, it was just a football scarf around your face, right? See, like, like a Ranger scarf or a Celtic scarf, just wrap it around your face and pull your hat down. So it's, know that it's just the same type of thing. It's like, look at me, I'm all hoodied and I look menacing and I look like a gang member, and it's it's no it's no cool. You're gonna get to a point in your life where you're going to say, what the fuck have I done? And that's probably going to be too late if you get to like my age and think that, because by that time you've probably committed a serious offence, probably going to be lying down a lifer or whatever. And that's speaking for somebody that was was obsessive compulsive about this whole thing as a child, as a teenager. And it's what the poor woman who lost her son, she said at 13, this wouldn't cross your mind. You would, you're still away at 13, totally agree. But when I was 13, this is when all this shit started happening for me. Started off kind of getting picked on, aye, all that shit, getting battered and all, but see, once my dad died, right, that was it. There was no more getting picked on. It was me doing the picking, know what I mean? And that was born out of the trauma and the fucking rage that was buried deep inside me. And it didn't take alcohol to bring it out. It was there. It was just took you to bring it out. You would just have to do something, say something. And that was it. So I was projecting all this pain onto boys for their schemes who were running about dressed the same, like the Bergos and the fucking trackie and the hats, whatever the fuck it was, right? So your identity, to me, right, if you dress like that, to me what you're doing is kind of self-identifying. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like a golf, they all wear a certain dress code so you can spot. And obviously if they're further schemes and you've had words, you've had battles, whatever, then you already know them anyway, so it's game on, it's on site, innit? And there was one interesting thing, one of the wee guys on it, so Ravy Davy, I think he's in about the wrestling, and he had so he's doing this kind of wrestling thing, get wins off the streets, giving them something productive today. I think he's been through a wee bit of selling that, right? And one of the wee guys getting interviewed said something about how getting into Glasgow Town Centre is worrying because of the kind of people up there. And do you know what I was sitting thinking, right? I was sitting thinking about how when I was younger, right? See, any time I'm in Glasgow Town Centre, how do I put it? Like years ago, I would have just been calm but aware. But see now, I'm just like, mate, I've been through all this shit, right? And when I'm walking about that town, I'm fucking got eyes in the back of my head, and it's no because I've got a big list of enemies all looking for me or fucking or anything like that. It's just because, see, when you're walking through that town now, it's a fucking, it's a war zone. You know what I mean? And the thing is, I know, like, I've heard wee things about how there'll be groups of teens getting in there to meet other groups of teens and all that shit, but that's nothing new. I think that was happening when I was a wee guy. That was how I stayed away from the town during my teenage years, unless I was going up to buy clays or something. But once I started hitting like my 20s and that, you'd Gotti Vicky's, the Sav, whatever, and would always be making sure on my best behaviour. Do you know what I mean? But it's the same old fucking sad story with all this culture, man. And the interesting thing was when I found a newspaper article right for 2006, and the guy who was running the VRU, Violence Reduction Unit, back then, he said something that I just thought that could just apply right now. We need to invest in our young people and all this, and I'm going, 20 years later, we're still saying the same shit. What's going on? Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, I do think all that kind of shit did no die a death, but it did quieten down. But now it's like a resurgence. And I suppose maybe I'm lucky that where I live isn't as fucking mental as it was like when I was a teenager, but like I keep saying, who's to say it couldn't go that way? And I can't imagine, see, like, with people, like with that poor woman on the programme who'd lost her son. She was sitting with her ma, right, obviously the boy's granny. Boy had been stabbed at a house party, and it's your worst nightmare. You imagine that was your kid. Do you know what I mean? And it's frightening. And like, I keep major tabs on my kid, so I do. And I totally don't mind saying, God help him, did it ever done it like that to him, man? You know what I mean? Police would be the least of our problems, man. People might be like, oh, that's not how to handle it. Well, it's what they say. What's right's not always legal, and what's legal's not always right, innit? But I think it's all part of a bigger problem, all this shit. Because when you look at it, the country's falling apart. Infrastructure's falling apart. There's no money for anything, and they wonder why. So I think they were saying the rise in the knife crime, I think since 2019, I think it's been like 20-30% or something. And they were saying they think it's because it's a kind of mixture of COVID, austerity, and can't mind what the other one was, right? But I think it's a bit deeper than that. And the sad thing is, I think that even 100 years from now, they're probably still going to be sitting talking about this shit. And the lucky ones will find a way out. You'll realise that, see, getting smashed out, you're not every frickin' Friday and Saturday and getting into the next scheme to go and fucking roll about with people just because they come for that scheme. You'll soon find out that it'll wear off. You'll find something better to do with your life, and if you do, you'll be the lucky ones. Do you know what I mean? I consider myself one of the lucky ones because I made it back against the odds as well. I was written off at the age of 21, written off in the High Court in Glasgow, mate. You know what I mean? But that was how I knew. I knew I had to make a change. And the only people who are got to get through to these kids is people with lived experience of what they've went through and what they're gone through. You're not going to get social workers and fucking politicians and all this shit. People who can't relate to their daily living. You're never going to reach them because I would imagine they would feel othered just sitting in your presence, because I certainly did. Right away, it's like, and it was interesting. It might have been Ravy Davy who said this on the programme. They were always telling me what I was doing wrong. They were never telling me what I was doing right. And it made me think of this old saying, when we're good, they never remember. When we're bad, they never forget. It made me think of that, because that was, that I think that's a very valid saying. It's like, and it's even the same in the prison system as well. It's constantly risking what you done but bad, bringing up all the bad shit. I used to say, how do you know list doing all the things that I've done positively? It's just hammering. It's like going to court over again. Like every year in prison you go to well, I don't know about the short termers, but definitely in the long term prisons you go to a thing every year called an ICM, Integrated Case Management, basically just keeping fucking dafties in jobs. So you'll go and there'll be a screw, a psychologist, the prison social worker, the outside social worker. You can bring a family member or this bullshit, and they'll talk about your progress or the past year. But to me, it was like going back to court every year and being tried again. Pure titular sinecures, these cunts, man, honestly. Fucking, know what I mean? But that's another story, innit? But I would be interested to hear what any of the viewers thought of that programme. To me, it's just the same. It's the same old monster, man. It's the same old problem, same old social issues. Just with a couple of kind of differences, kind of cultural differences. You know what I mean? Social media being the big one, and the kind of influence of drill and all that as well. That all the kids seem to be listening to now. But I would be really interested to hear what anybody thought of the programme if they watched it. So just like comment or whatever and let us know. But aye, same tale I wore, innit? Fuck's sake, man. Just fucked up. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there and go and chill. But cheers all yous for tuning in, even the ones that don't sub. But I've got my class tomorrow afternoon, so my wee boys got me his grandpa and that. Honestly, man, cherish your children. They're no kids for long, know what I mean? And always do the right thing, know what I mean? So, yours take care and good night. See you next time I'm back home.